Welcome to my channel. Now, I have a reaction to the presidential State of the Union address that was last night, and from a nonpartisan, an independent, not a Republican or a Democrat, not a scribe or a Pharisee. I basically enjoyed the speech. It was a good speech, and I have to call balls and strikes. And this actually was the best State of the Union address that I've seen in my lifetime. Because I've had to look at these State of the Union addresses and listen to them talk about crime, listen to them talk about super predators, look at them, listen to them talking about the drugs and the gangs and all of that, meaning Black Americans, and at the time, young Black men and the entire Black community was under the microscope and was being demonized by the party of slavery, in which that party put in a 94 crime bill and pretty much continued slavery when it comes to mass incarceration. But looking at the State of the Union address last night, I was well pleased to see, the camaraderie. I was pleased to see the connectability of the president's speech. I like the fact that, I was able to fact check most, if not all, of the president's claims. And, I took notes, summarized it, and I'll be sharing that with you today. And then I'll also, in closing, will show a few videos of the Democrats trying to, have their own parties or have their own State of the Union addresses themselves, in which they were epic fails, and how they protested. And, a lot of the Democrats chose to not even show up. And then they wouldn't even stand up for certain critical situations that are literally nonpartisan. So let's get into it. So now the president's State of the Union address. Okay. And like I said, I took notes. So I'm going to just go ahead and go through my notes to summarize, because some of you may have missed it. So I'm just going to give you some highlights and some key talking points. The president says this is the golden age of America. And as a Black man who's been on this planet for over a half a century, and have seen the good and seen the bad, have seen, America try to rebrand itself, but now to understand that there's a president and an administration that's in office that actually respects God. Because I was waiting to see at the end of the speech, what was he going to say? May God bless you. May God bless the United States. That's what he said. Because I will watch Biden says, God bless the troops. And I'm sitting back saying, this is crazy. So being in the golden age of America. And he also said that just in 1 year, this has been the biggest transformation that this country has ever been in 1 year. And I could not find, anyone that was willing to debate that fact, because, within a year, we shut down the southern borders. We found a whole bunch of fraud. The tariffs is making, buku dollars. We are seeing and witnessing a transformation, because it's only been a year and some months. So we got through a 2.5, almost 3 years to go with this president's administration. And one thing that we do understand, that American citizens got to understand, that putting America first is not a bad thing. Okay. Loving your country is not a bad thing. I believe it was John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country could do for you, but ask what you could do for your country. And as a Black man, with the, Epstein Transparency Act that's opening all of the, the hidden jewels, we're learning and finding out that the Negroes been here, way before Columbus. The Negroes been here, and we were actually documented as Aborigine, Negro tribes. Okay. But somehow, some way, we got written out of history, because the Democratic Party is turning out to be, an anti-American movement ran by, some entities that's, that's basically having the Democrats crash out and ruin their careers. And I'll explain this to you, by the end of this upload. Okay. Now, the golden age of America, check. Okay. A big transformation within a physical year, check. Okay, because when you look at inflation, you look at prices. I know the polls say something different, but I'm on the number side. Okay, I'm on the 401k side. I'm on the investment side. So based on 401ks and based on investments and based on shutting down the border, getting these illegal immigrants and getting these individuals out of this country, it's basically opening the door and making room for the people who it was intended for in the first place. Now, but one of the highlights where the Democrats really showed their anuses is Al Green. Al Green basically did a protest, and he held up a sign that says, black people are not apes. We know that. There's not a primate on the planet that has lips. Okay, we know we're not apes. But for him to do that, Al Green, okay, and I call him a pimp named Slickback because he got the slick back and he got the cane. When I look at him, I'm sure Darwin is basically saying, listen, I know y'all debunk my theory of evolution, but if you look at Al Green, that is an indication that, we evolved from something different. Okay, because the brother, like I said, he, needs to keep that energy, because I guarantee you his heritage, even with the slick back, the texture of his hair, the how he looks, he could trace his heritage back to indigenous natives. And we know he's not going to be supportive. I'll be surprised if he does, but we know he's not going to be supportive in the next push, because the cash payouts is real. Okay, the Negroes and the colored, if your birth certificate says that, we going to keep this energy in the spring, and then this summer we're going to really have a good time, having these conversations in terms of, how we're going to make America what she's supposed to be or what she intended to be. So Al Green got kicked out. We're not apes. Okay, black Americans are not apes. And it comes from the video that Trump put up that happened to have Michelle Obama and Barack Obama as, twin monkeys in a long video of the, I believe it was the Lion King. It is what it is. But like I said, for the records, primates does not have lips. Okay, we are Homo sapiens. It is what it is. And just like, we cannot let the individuals who try to put that stigma on it get that energy. But Al Green, he did what he did. Okay, respectfully, that's what it was. Now, one thing that he also said, that our enemies are scared. Our enemies are scared. And if you look at the Democratic Party is the enemy of President Trump. And he was referring to our enemies abroad. Okay, because the Trump administration is shooting down drug boats and drug cartels. They going in other countries and extracting the president, so their enemies are scared because, he's gangster. He's doing what he's doing. But I'm grateful that they're doing it over there and not over here. Okay, just like the United States hockey team, male and female, won the gold medal, and the gold medal men's hockey team was there last night at the State of the Union. That's the pride and the camaraderie that we have to have as American citizens, because I don't watch hockey, but I watch both the gold medal game between with the women in Canada and the male versus Canada. And the last time we beat Canada was back in 1980. Okay. And it is what it is. So the camaraderie was strong. It was a beautiful thing. So our enemies are scared, and America is at the strongest, basically, he said, the strongest and most secure border than ever before. Another fact that checked out. Okay. Basically, 0 crossings in the last 9 months, is the president's claims. Okay. Now, our southern border clearly was a crisis, always have been, the drugs and all of that. But under the Trump administration, he ran on the campaign promise to shut down the borders. And he also exposed the Democrats for leaving the border open, because literally, from a black man's mouth to your ears, that the Democratic Party know that they lost the black man's vote. So they basically wanted to flood the United States of America with all these immigrants, because that was the voting block for the Democrats. But since they're kicking them out, and they basically passed the voter ID, meaning you can't vote without a photo ID. You can't even get a registration card without 2 forms of ID. So the Democratic Party is over. Willie Lynch said it himself. We could do this for hundreds, if not thousands of years, unless some phenomenon happened. And the phenomenon is social media. The phenomenon is the internet, because you can't lie to us. You tell me or ask me any question, give me 2 to 3 minutes, and I'll come back with a dissertation and a summary of what we just talked about something that I never knew anything about. So it is what it is. So the golden age of America, okay, the biggest transformation in 1 year. Al Green kicked out with the ape sign. Okay, and I'm gonna let you know there's not a primate on the planet that has lips. So if you want to say monkeys and all of that, it's not us. Okay, it's not us. Just like the Dumbo elephant, coming to find out that the Moors, rode elephants. So they made Dumbo a clown to basically change and watch the history. But basically under the Epstein Transparency Act, we're able to go in there and look at all the information in terms of the truth, and our truth shall make us free. And this was why the 5 Negro tribes that was here in America ruling before Columbus and all of that is going to come with some compensation. So I'm asking you, as nonpartisan independents or Black Americans, not African Americans. We never been to Africa. That's an ethnicity. You cannot be, 2 continents. So as Native American, okay, as foundational Black Americans, I'm asking you just to stand by and stand back, pun intended, because there's some money on the line. Okay, if your birth certificate says Negro or colored, it is what it is. And before we get cashed out, we're going to press the Trump administration to basically, send out the $7,000, $5,000 for the Doge money that Elon Musk has found in terms of the fraud with USA ID and the Department of Education, as well as the $2,000 stimulus to every American, Black, white, or indifferent, for the tariff reliefs. The money of the trillions of dollars the Trump administration is getting through the tariffs. And if you think that the Supreme Court's decision meant anything, he said he's going to basically do a flat 15%, globally, and continue doing what he's doing, because he's the executive chief. He's the executive in chief. He runs the country, and the Supreme Court, can be bought. Okay, they can be bought. It is what it is. And another talking point that he said, the lowest murder rate in the last 150 years. Okay, the fact checkers got on that, and it basically saying, it didn't come back with a yes or a no, but based on the statistical numbers, because back in 150 years ago, statistically those stats was not being taken. But in modern history, what the president's claim is the lowest murder rate in the last 50 years, checked out. Okay. And, he's popping his collar because he says DC is safe. All the places where they sent the federal troops are safe, because, like I said, America is who she is, but she could be much greater. But a house divided cannot stand, because you have anti-Americans who somehow align themselves with the Democratic Party, who is wishing for this country, to end. And it's insanity. And all I got to say is that those individuals do not love themselves, because if you loved yourself, okay, you will love your neighbor. So if you suffer from Trump deranged syndrome, based from a psychology perspective, based on, from educators, from clinical psychologists, if you don't love your neighbor, you don't love yourself. So if you suffer from Trump deranged syndrome, you do not even love yourself. And that's from, PhDs, psychologists. Okay. All right. Now he popped his collar in terms of jobs. I don't have the number, but there's a large influx of jobs created in the private sector. And that what was supposed to happen. So, those individuals who lost their federal jobs, who lost their jobs with the Department of Education and these fraudulent operations, was able to, be gainfully employed in the private sector. And that's how it's supposed to be. In another situation that's applauded, not just with the Trump administration, but just, Black, people in general. Okay, because I've had these conversations with teachers. I have these conversations with educators and scholars. And, Trump bragged and he said that we ended DEI. And DEI was nothing but a fake brand of an affirmative action. And if this was a scramble word, DEI, go ahead and put DIE. died, dead on arrival. And it's crazy. And then this is a good thing based on, and hear me when I say this, based on the statistics, based on, the welfare fraud. Okay. 2.5 million Americans was lifted off of food stamps. And you could applaud that. 2.5 million Americans was lifted off of food stamps, because those able-bodied individuals had to get off the couch and go to work and stop hustling the system. And then he also said, the state of our union is strong. And I'm going to go ahead and piggyback that. The state of our union is very, very strong. And we got to keep this momentum, because the only way that something can actually happen is that from the inside out, the enemy from within, meaning the Democratic Party, somehow find a way to do something crazy to end this momentum, because they're suicidal and misery loves company. They don't want us to, be happy, because one thing that I'm really learning and starting to understand, based on, biblical texts in terms of I'll spread you around the world, that this has an opportunity actually to be the promised land. OK, and based on the Epstein Transparency Act, now we can, seek the truth and find the truth, now that the phenomenon of social media and DOJ has opened their website up for us to go in there and search information and declassified information, and because the Bible says on earth as it is in heaven. So, if it's on earth as it is in heaven, we can choose to have heaven on earth or live in a hellish environment here on earth. The choice is yours. And just like one thing that God gives us is the freedom of choice and the freedom to choose. And it is what it is. And I already aforementioned that he brought the gold medal hockey team in, and he gave the goalie for the hockey team, the highest civilian award is the Presidential Medal of Freedom. OK, that hockey goalie took 48 shots, and one shot, it hit the rink, bink. They hit it again. He hit it with his shoulder, and then he did another shot, and he, moved it from, hit it from the back. And I'm sitting back like saying, wow, that was amazing. Okay, because America is setting the tone, and it's looking like America is branding itself to be the greatest. And just imagine, we got the World Cup soccer coming, and then we got the Olympics. So this is an opportunity for individuals who love themselves and love their country to show up and show out on the world stage. And then the president popped his collar, and I just talked to an individual. I called her last night. OK, she was filing her taxes, and I told her, to file exempt, to not claim any of the tips and all of that. And I talked to her last night after the State of the Union. And she was like, I knew he was going to call me, and we're having this conversation. And I said, so what's up? You hate Trump, and I don't hate Trump. OK, but you don't like Trump. OK, you did your taxes. So what was your taxes? How much did you get back? She said, I'm going to just say I got back more than I've ever gotten in any year working in my life. And I said, dang. So that big, beautiful bill was something. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, regardless of the red tape. OK, or what the limits are. OK, this is something that is good for America, because those tax cuts was beautiful. And that's for all Americans, Republicans, Democrats, anybody that's an American citizen, because that big, beautiful bill, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, is a beautiful thing. And it's crazy because the Democrats, not one Democrat voted to put money in your pocket or to, help you financially. They complain about, oh, things are too high, inflation is too high, but not one single Democrat, hear me when I say this, not one single Democrat voted to put money in your pocket or to lower taxes. So every single elected Democrat that's in Washington, voted to raise taxes and to take money out your pocket. Hashtag that. Okay. It is what it is. And he also expanded the child credits. And then if you have purchased an American car, okay, and you have an auto loan, you are able to write off the interest for your car loan and not the whole loan itself. So you're able to get some money back off of paying interest on your car loan. Okay. And that's on, American made cars. And he said that clearly. Okay. And then here's the kicker. Another one. And yes, I'm talking about the State of the Union, and I'm talking about the talking points, and I'm talking about America, and I'm talking about this racist President Donald Trump. And if you have not, go to, okay, where's the website? I know I got it. Okay, I know I got it. Go to trumpaccounts.org. Go to the DOJ website, okay, because Trump Accounts for Kids is a tax-free investment account, which is $1,000 investment right now. Okay, for any individual that signs up. Okay, and then he have individuals from the private sector committing funds, and he mentioned the Dell family, which created Dell computers, are going to be assisting as well. So basically, there's going to be a wealth gap, okay, in 18 plus years for the individuals who don't sign up. So I'm going to do some research, and we're going to be signing up little black babies. Okay, I know you hate the president. I know you hate yourself, but don't hate your children. Okay, because when their child turn 18 years old, they're looking at possibly $100,000+ for their education, $100,000+ to invest in their lives. Because these individuals who do not sign up, who want to just stand, want to be just, I don't know, don't want to respect the Oval Office, don't want to render unto Caesars, and basically said, I don't want this money and want to be stupid or ignorant. Listen, don't do that. The federal government is offering $1,000 accounts. Okay. And the name of it is Trump Accounts for Kids. Okay. For their education, for a start of their new life when they turn 18 years old. And 18 years from now, the individuals that do not sign up for this are going to be, sick, broke, busted, and disgusted, because this is a wealth gap. And if you do not get in the mix, that, you're going to be left behind. So no child left behind. So we're going to do some research. We're going to, I'm going to figure out the link, and I'm going to be sharing it, because you women of color, you Latinos, you Americans, sign your kids up, because this is better than you getting a college plan or an investment account for your kids' college education. The federal government is investing in America's future for American kids. So don't be stupid and understand that, it is what it is. It is what it is. So another thing he talked about, and it basically it trended over the weekend, is the tariffs. Okay. And with the tariffs, we know that the Supreme Court had a 6-3 ruling. Okay. And said that they were unconstitutional, and they, the president needs congressional, insight or insight or involvement on the tariffs. But, based on all these high priced lawyers and attorneys, the president said, I don't need Congress to do nothing. Okay. He going to do what he do, because the president of the United States, respectfully, is straight gangster, and just keep it 100. Okay. This is the, in my mind, the best president that America has ever had, because this is a president that's looking out, from a global perspective. He's not trying to hurt American citizens. He's doing his job. Okay. This is the first time in my lifetime that I've seen where the federal government does not have its foot on the neck of the black man. I'm going to say that again. The first time in my natural life that I've ever seen where the federal government does not have their foot on the neck of black men. And I'm going to say that one more time. The first time in my lifetime have I ever seen that the federal government does not have its foot on the neck of the black man. It is what it is. So that's why I can respect that. So they're working on a new deal. They're going to figure that out. So let me see here. What else is relevant that we need to talk about? Let me see here. All right. I think he talked about the economy, talked about health care. Let me see here. Prescription drugs. So now, if you've been paying all that money on these prescription drugs, the Trump administration has passed a bill where we pay the less when it comes to prescription medication worldwide. Okay. And all you got to do is go to trumprx.gov. I wrote that one down. Trumprx.gov and go get your medication. And it's going to be between 30 and 3,000% cheaper than you've been buying. And so an individual that does that, it's starting to resonate that he's not a hired gun. He's not paid off. He's not bought. That he is operating on his own axle as an independent, man running this country, because it seems as though, the pharmaceuticals and the big corporations and all that, they controlled or had a stronghold over the Democratic Party, because all of a sudden, natural cures are coming out. Individuals are basically trying to give us new data and new information, because somehow, some way, the Democratic Party has been, caught up, in something. And it seems that the Epstein files, which are coming out, is showing us that, some evildoers in high places were really puppeteering or, paying off, or whoever finances these elected officials, they had to go in and actually work for them and not the American people. But the Trump administration is making it clear that they're working for the American people. So if you are on prescription drugs, you are going to see between a 30 to 3,000% discount. And all you got to do is go to trumprx.gov. So get out your feelings, save you some money, go to the website and make it do what it do. It is what it is. And then he talked about some AI, Social Security, Medicaid, and all of that. Let me see here. Let me see here. Okay, boom. And this is where I'm going to start showing the videos. Okay, because the Somali fraud was crazy. The Somali fraud was crazy. And, he was talking about the fraud, and he struck a nerve, with the Somali pirate, Ilhan Omar. Okay. And she's an embarrassment. And anybody that allows or think that this is okay is not right. I know John Lewis, Sheila Jackson Lee, they're turning in their graves watching these immigrants be so disrespectful to a country that we fought just to be included, just to sit in the chamber was something special. But now you got individuals that did not even show up. Okay, they ditched, the State of the Union. They did something else. They did a rebuttal or tried to have another rally somewhere else, because they don't want the American people to sit back and let them decide for themselves. They want to tell you how to feel. Okay, but the devil is a lie and time is undefeated, and it looks like the jig is up. Okay, because the Somali fraud, he basically said $19 billion of fraud, and probably more than that. And like I aforementioned earlier, the first time in my lifetime that I've seen that the federal government does not have its foot on the neck of the black man is because Trump announced last night during the State of the Union address that J.D. Vance, will lead the Department of War on Fraud, and Minnesota is his first assignment. The war on fraud is led by J.D. Vance, was announced yesterday, and he's going. The first stop is Minnesota with the Somali pirates, and Ilhan Omar got pissed off. And I'm gonna start showing you the videos right now, okay? Because Ilhan Omar, she was so disrespectful, and when I say so disrespectful, I mean, it just hurt my heart to sit back and watch that happen. Okay. And I'm going to go to my page, and I did a video. Oh, let me pause it. And I did a video. Well, I clipped it and put it on Instagram, and it has over 600,000 views, and it's behind me on the screen, and I'm going to let you hear it. And this is Ilhan Omar sitting in the Oval Office where our ancestors fought to be, just to have a seat at the table. And now you have this towel head, pun intended, being so disrespectful. Okay. But the president called her out. Listen to this. Wow, they're not even standing. He clowned them. Trump just basically said, if If you declare to protect Americans before illegal immigrants, please stand up and applaud.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
They should be ashamed of themselves. I'm going to play it again just in case you missed it. Wow, they're not even standing. He clowned them. Trump just basically said, if you declare to protect Americans before illegal immigrants, please stand up and applaud.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be.
They should be ashamed of themselves for not standing.
Ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities.
And look at this one. I think that's Rashida Tlaib, and she's a Palestinian. Okay, she's a Palestinian.
That protect the criminals,
not a non-American. And then this Somali pirate right here, this towelhead Somalian. Think about it. Our ancestors are turning in their graves right now. Sheila Jackson Lee, John Lewis right now, and are saying like, where did we go wrong? And this is what I mean by the end of an era. Okay, the party is over. It went too far. They think they could just, cherry pick and choose who they want. OK, but this is what happens. This is disrespectful. At least a respectable individual would have showed up and just sat there like Hakeem Jeffries. He just sat there and showed respect to Oval Office. Even the word says render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. But look at these two immigrants. And this female is responsible for billions of dollars of fraud in the state of Minnesota.
Who block the removal of criminal aliens, in many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country.
Drug lords, murderers all over our country.
They're blocking the removal.
They blocking the removal of these individuals.
Of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Should be ashamed of yourself. Wow. Say it ain't so. Our ancestors are turning in their graves right now. That's crazy. Turning in their graves right now. And let me see here. Joy Reid. She basically, y'all remember Joy Reid? Joy Reid is basically, let me see. Let me fix that. Let me see here. Now, Joy Reid, she basically did a rally outside of the White House. Yeah, Joy Reid. And like a counter rally or something, whatever they wanted to call it. And I'm sitting back saying, like, why? Joy Reid was, had her own show on MSNBC. And then all of a sudden she lost her job and got fired because of ratings. And, she's doing the DL thing, the Don Lemon thing. They basically was on a pedestal. But both of them are realizing that once you don't have the machine behind you, meaning the devil behind you, you are just like, anybody else. Joy Reid did a counter rally and nobody showed up. Look, check this out. Look, nobody there. While the State of the Union going on, nobody's there. It's more cameras than anything. It's political theater. Watch this. Watch this.
Joy Reid, you suck. You're a loser. MSNBC fired you because you're a loser. You suck. America First, you can't even get a sizable crowd. No one's here. It's empty. It's empty. It's empty. You're a loser. You're all mentally ill. You're simping for a criminal. He is a criminal. know who you are? Why are you simping for illegal criminals?
No, why are you distracted?
Because I think you guys are losers.
I think you are stuck. Why are you here? This is not your event.
Okay, it's a free country, isn't it? Is it a free country? Do you want to know who the fascists are? You guys. You guys are the fascists. You guys are the fascists.
I don't need any arguments right now. No fighting.
Hey, we're going to watch it again, and I'm going to give some content on it. So, look, that crowd is empty. Empty. It's more cameramen there than people. Okay. And remember, Joy Reid, you know, she was on national television, MSNBC, just like Don Lemon was on CNN. And, you know, when you cut a deal with the devil, okay, you just crash out. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what I did and what I would advise anybody else to do. Repent, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. But when you sell your soul to the devil, this is what happens. You know, you fall from grace and you literally embarrass yourself because you don't love yourself. If you loved yourself, just tap out. You know, it is what it is. It was a good run. Let me go live my best life. But when you sell your soul, you got to get out there and do what you're told, because you're still trying to get donor money. You're still trying to be influential. You still think that you're relevant, but clearly you're not. And the only people that support you are the Babylonians. And when I say Babylonians, the LGBTQ car, you could be a member of that community. But if you are, you know, pushing that narrative, you know, that's you. You know, live your lifestyle. As a former whoremonger, I cannot judge anybody, not throwing any stones. But all I'm saying is, if you are, you know, pushing that agenda or that narrative, and it seems like under the Trump administration, a lot of individuals are getting back in the closet where they should have been. Because I don't know, you know, any whoremongers that was trying to raise people to, you know, to have a whole squad of females on their team. You know, we did, but I don't remember promoting it and saying it was good. We knew it was wrong, you know, but at the end of the day, repent, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. But Joy Reid clearly sold her soul. She publicly embarrassed herself last night, just like, you know, Ilhan Omar, the Somali pirate. You know, it is what it is. So listen, I'm gonna give some commentary, but Joy Reid has sold her soul. She's trying to be relevant, and she really has to realize when the devil he uses you, and then when he can't use you anymore, you don't have that machine behind you anymore. You know, because I remember the rebuttals being on her show, and now she's out there, you know, wasting time, spending money on what? To embarrass herself? Watch, I'm going to point this out. And she can't even find black people to rock with her. Okay, the brother that steps in, you know, he's a homosexual. And I'm going to show another video where, you know, you see that. But look at this trans, male, female, whatever. Watch this. This man about 6'5". Right here, with the arrow at. Right here. That's a trans. 6'5". Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. 6'5". Look at him. He's setting the screen for her. Look at him. Straight transgender. And Joy Reid, her sister, says she couldn't even find her own people to support what she's doing. So she's just, you know, she's just 100% down with the Babylonians. And she's, you know, and like I said, she's going to go to hell with all y'all, you know, that's pushing a narrative or an agenda outside of God's plan. Okay. Not throwing in any stones. I'm just saying it, you know, calling it like it is. So get out your feelings.
Sizable crowd. No,
but look at this tall dude. And I'm sure he wants to be, his pronoun is empty. Look. I've seen a person that I follow, and it was super empty. It's more cameras than anything.
You're all mentally ill. You're simping for a criminal. He is a criminal. He is a criminal.
Look at this 6'5" transgender. Okay, now this brother right here. Just keep in mind with this black man right here. Okay, apparently he works for Joy. Okay, and on the next video that I show, you're going to see what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Straight homosexual.
What do you mean? Do I know who you are?
No, you don't know who he is.
Why are you simping for illegal criminals?
No, why are you distracting?
Because I think you guys
Wow.
are losers.
I think you are stuck. Why are you here? This is not your event.
They are delusional. This is not your event.
Okay, it's a free country.
Free country.
Is it a free country? Do you want to know who the fascists are? You guys.
Yeah.
You guys are the fascists.
And they call Trump them fascists. They, those.
You guys are the fascists.
I don't need any arguments right now. Go fight it.
All right, she had to get up out of there. Now watch this one here. Let me see here. All right. So this was after the event, and the event was so terrible that Joy Reid had to go find an Uber to get up out of there. Check this out, and remember the man that I mentioned. Watch this.
The Democrats
Look at him.
abandoning the black community for illegal aliens. Joy, I noticed you got rid of your Trump haircut,
That's Joy Reid, and look at the brother.
but you're still cultural appropriating
Bye.
the blonde.
I'm surprised he's saying bye.
You're still cultural appropriating the blonde.
Watch Joy.
Don't touch me.
Falling from grace. Falling from grace. If she was with MSNBC, she had a limo pulling up out of there. Look at it. She walking looking for her Uber.
Touch me.
And look at Joy. Look at her. Look at her. See, that's what happens. That's what the devil does. He uses you until he, don't need you anymore, and then he has you out looking stupid. You look stupid right now. Look at her, looking stupid right now. Yeah, throwing up the bird. And look, her 3 people. Let's go. And look, there go the Uber. Look at the Uber. Look, they got in the Uber.
Jesus loves you, brother. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you.
Look at that. Another homosexual.
Joy, it's called MAGA.
Look at-
It's called MAGA. And this is MAGA. Hey, God bless ICE.
God bless ICE.
God bless ICE.
I know brothers got
God
great
bless
jobs with ICE.
God bless ICE. There's Joyanne.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And then let me see here. And then you think, that these the Democratic Party, and one of the reasons that I say the party is over, okay? Because this is from CNN, and I'm gonna close with this. This is from CNN. Okay. I'm gonna close with this, and then I'm gonna close with some comments that I heard while Trump was exiting the State of the Union address. But check this out. When I say the Democratic Party is over, it's over. Okay. And the only way it could have survived is if that Gavin Newsom did not, veto a reparations bill. If our elected officials would have continued to fight for reparations, because if you did not know, the reparations have been floored, H.R. 40, every year since 1987. Roy Collier's did it, and then when his passing, Sheila Jackson Lee did it, and then mysteriously she passed, and then Presley, the congresswoman out, I believe, Massachusetts. But this year is the first year that they're not going to do it. So we're going to give them some time, and if they don't do it, then the ambassador to Black American Affairs and the reparations czar will present it from an independent oversight perspective to the country and to the president, and will lobby the Trump administration to cash out the coloreds and the Negroes. Check this out. The party is over. This is CNN. Watch this.
Downright clown car at this point on the Democratic side. I mean, just take a look here. Top choices for the 2028 Dem-Pres nominee. You have a leader, but it's not really a clear leader. It's within the margin of error. You have Newsom at 19%. Then you have former Vice President Kamala Harris at 18%. Quite a weak number for her, given that, of course, she was the nominee last time around. Pete Buttigieg, who, of course, has run before, 13%. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at 12%. This is just a total clown car. It is a total mess. There is no clear front runner at this particular point on the Democratic side. Who the heck knows who the nominee is going to be in 2 weeks? This is just a down.
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that?
Like clown car at this point on the Democratic side. I mean, just take a look here.
Okay, so you got Newsom at 19%, Harris at 18%, Buttigieg at 13, and AOC at 12. So AOC, she's probably at, single digits now, because over the weekend, she basically made a statement when asked, she was abroad in a foreign country and asked a question about Taiwan. And she basically did a Kamala Harris word salad. And then tried to come back and say that she, was trying to think something out, but she didn't know what she was talking about. Okay. Because you ask Hillary something, one thing Hillary do, she quick with it, and Hillary be on point because she knows what she's talking about. AOC, no chance. Buttigieg, okay, I don't think, we're not going to have a first man, okay, as president. Harris, she can't get the black vote because she's not black, she's Indo-Jamaican. And then Gavin Newsom, he's at 19%, but Gavin, he blew his chances basically by saying he can't even read. Like, seriously, listen to this. Let me just play this.
Sexy SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read.
Okay. Let me see. Let me play another one. Okay. Now, if you follow me on my Instagram, and let me see, is my name Bushan Glover on Instagram? Let's see if this one.
You just basically blew any opportunity to get the black vote. You're talking to black people. We believe in what we call black excellence. Black excellence. Okay? We're trying to get to another level. So you're dumbing down the vibration, talking to the lowest of the lowest frequencies. You just basically blew any opportunity to get the black vote.
And that's the message to Gavin Newsom. And that is the message to Gavin Newsom. And the Democratic Party is over. It is what it is. And I'm going to go ahead and close out with some talking points that I heard, okay, because, a lot of people, may have watched the nation's address or the State of the Union address, on TV, on mainstream, the ABCs, NBCs, but I watched it, from a different outlet. And the stream that I watched is streamed with the president exiting. It did not connect or just instantly go to the panel to start talking, or some channels did the rebuttal, which I haven't watched because it was a waste of time. Okay, because they don't go by stats, they go by feelings. Okay, well, America doesn't feel of our poll says, forget your poll. We have to look at the numbers. And this is what I heard them saying, and I was writing them down as the president was leaving and shaking hands when he was leaving the chamber. Okay, in closing, this is what I heard individuals saying to the president, and I agree with them wholeheartedly, because this was the best speech that I've seen, and this is the first time in my natural lifetime that I feel, not only see, but I feel like the white man, the federal government does not have his foot on the neck of the black man. Okay, for the first time in my lifetime, I saw the camaraderie. I'm proud to be an American, and I want to see how far we can go, and I want to see how much better we can make America, or how great we can get America. Because America, MAGA, make America great again, but we got to make it great and keep it great, because it never was great. Okay, in closing, this is what I heard. It was an amazing, that's what these individuals said to the president. It was amazing. Grand slam. America loves you. Mr. President, outstanding speech. You did an amazing job. Well done. God bless you. Great job. Okay. Love the finish. Okay. Great job. Great speech. Okay. And then in closing, this is what somebody said. That was the best speech I ever heard. And with that being said, it's your man, Bushan Glover. So hit that like, hit that notification, because we going up. Hit the subscription, because like I said, 2026 is here, and we're going to ride this wave all the way to the promised land. With that being said, have an amazing day. It's your man, Bushan Glover, signing out. A Better Black America TV on YouTube, a Better Black America radio show on Facebook. And hey, have an amazing day. Peace out.